Busy with everything, recruiting, everything else, getting ready for this game. Is it sunk in you're going to be the head coach of Ohio State?
Every day a little bit more. Yeah, like you said, a lot going on. The first thing on the list was recruiting, and obviously that went really, really well, and now it's getting ready for this bowl game. But every day a little bit more.
Ryan, we've asked you a bunch of times already about what you'll do when you take charge of the staff and all that. I know you don't have answers to that until after the game, but
Sure.
you have to have been managing some of that stuff to take over. What has that been like to juggle both jobs, I guess, if that's how you view it, over the last couple of weeks?
I think that obviously you rely on your staff and kind of the guys that you have and the personalities you have on your staff, and you work through it. And that's going to be something that's ever evolving as we go. And then once the bowl game gets over, we'll go through and figure out exactly where those are going to be moving forward.
Has that been, I don't know, tough to manage at all? Urban wants to be in charge for his last game, right? And you want to plan for the future. Has there been any, you have to manage that, walk that line?
Not at all. No, not at all. It's actually been even smoother than I thought it would be.
Really?
Yeah, it's been really good, and things have been kind of business as usual, and then on the second, it kind of goes from there.
Ryan, do you know whether or not you're going to call plays next year?
It's something we're still going to work through and figure that out. But I still want to have a heavy hand in the offense. I think that the guys on offense, really excited, and there's a lot of energy and positive momentum on our side of the ball. So I want to keep that going.
How does that go for a guy who's been a play caller, and there have been head coaches who try to take that on and others who don't? Just who do you rely on as you're trying to make that decision, and what factors might go into deciding whether or not you're going to call plays next year?
Yeah, I mean, you look at different models that people have used over the years, and a lot of it has to do with as we move forward, kind of the positions some of the coaches take on and the responsibilities as we go. But I think that there are a lot of models out there that work. Obviously at Oklahoma and Notre Dame, and obviously I use Chip Kelly as a guy that I go to a lot. He's made it work that way. So all conversations we had moving forward.
Any new coaches you might have, I know you can't rush to put your new staff together. It's so important, but you also don't have like a long timeline. It's just,
sure.
Can you discuss walking that balance of finding the right guys, but you also can't take too long to find them?
Yeah, but again, right now it's all about winning this game. It's on us right now. That's where the focus is.
Brian, there's been, when you look at this game, Washington looks like one of the better secondaries maybe you've faced this year. When you prepare for them, what do you see? What's the challenge they pose?
Well, they have a great scheme. They're very, very well coached. Jimmy Lake does a great job, and the whole staff does a great job. They play very hard. They're powerful up front. They don't give up a lot of big plays. Their secondary does a great job of keeping things in front of them. They break on the ball really well, and opportunistic, obviously in turnovers. And so they make you work the thing down the field. They're not going to give you big plays. So we're going to have to do a good job there, stay on schedule, and then do a good job in situational football.
What has it been about Dwayne that he seems to take his game to another level against better defenses you face? What is it about him that allows him to thrive in those situations?
I go back to it all the time. I just think that what our offensive line has done to get him into a rhythm in these games is remarkable. You look at some of those games, he's actually untouched at times, which is when he can set his feet in the pocket and throw the ball, that's when he's at his best. And so much of it goes back to what those guys have done protecting for him. And then also the guys on the perimeter, creating space and winning their one-on-one matchups so he doesn't have to hang on to the ball and the ball gets out of his hands on time. And so the rhythm of our passing game is critical.
Joshua Olabi looks like he's been taking some of the first-team reps at left tackle. How's he looking? He needs to step in there for Thayer, and is there a chance Thayer will play in the game?
So Josh, stepped in and played some games for us this year, and he's done a good job. And so we have a lot of faith in Josh. It looks like Thayer probably will be a game-time decision there, but we have confidence in both guys.
What is Thayer's injury?
It's undisclosed right now.
Ryan, Urban said earlier this week that it's been like a year that he's kind of scouted you to see if you could be his potential replacement.
Sure.
Now that it's kind of happened, he says he feels more comfortable handing it off to you. Why are you ready for this job?
Well, for a lot of reasons. It's something I've been working for my whole career. I've been exposed to some great coaches along the way, and exposed to some high level of coaching, and going to use something from each of those coaches that we're going to build our culture that way and my philosophy. But that being said, I've been in the program now for a couple of years. I had an opportunity to walk in the footsteps of the head coach here at Ohio State, understand what that is, and want to keep the infrastructure here. And my philosophy and values are so much in line with what's here right now. And I want to keep that culture going and the infrastructure going that's here right now.
Since Urban made that announcement, how has he been? Players have said he seems a little bit more relaxed. He wasn't the total helicopter coach earlier in practice. He's kind of getting back to that now, but how is he?
He's been great. I can't say enough about what he's been like for me. Just moving forward, you know, as we go and try to, you know, blaze a new path here, talking to me just about all the different things that he's gone through, the experiences that he's had, obviously at Ohio State, but just as a coach, what to look for as a head coach and how to put things together moving forward.
Does he seem more relaxed though? Does it seem like kind of a weight is lifted?
I don't know. I mean, I know that obviously winning the Big Ten championship, beating our rival was big, and so anytime that happens, you know, you smile a little bit more, and that's pretty natural. But I do think that he's in a great place.
I assume you're not going to be working as closely with the quarterback. What are you going to miss? What do you really like about that interaction?
I'm still going to be involved with the quarterbacks a good amount. Yeah. I obviously won't have as much time as I've had in the past, and I do love that. Having a feel for the quarterbacks in terms of what they've seen, what they've practiced, what they know, what they're experiencing on a day-to-day basis, kind of keeps you in tune with the offense, because the offense goes as the quarterback goes. But I'm going to do a really good job of making sure that I am in those meetings, that I am a part of it, and that I do have a good feel for what the quarterback's experiencing.
You get some uncertainty coming at quarterback, perhaps. It's almost like going back a year. What do you look forward to? What's the challenge of bringing a new guy along?
It's something I'm going to kind of think about after the game and you know, reflect on what that's going to be. But you know, we just got to win this game, and then we'll go from there.
Your philosophy of being a head coach but still working closely with quarterbacks, it sounds a lot like what Jim Tressel did. Do you have a relationship with Coach Tressel at all? I'm sure you guys eventually will be.
We've met and spoken a few times, but other than that, not really.
Ryan, how was the coaching dynamic yesterday in practice? Was it any different, you know, knowing that in less than a week you're going to be stepping into those shoes?
No, it hasn't. It hasn't been different at all. It's been really smooth. Like I said earlier, I think that you know, it's been kind of, there's a great relationship there between Coach and I. And you know, he's kind of handing this thing off to me as we go, and but things have been business as usual, and we'll continue that way through the game.
Did you feel yourself being any more vocal than normal, or
No, and I think that's what the guys appreciate about me, is that I am who I am, and that I'm not going to try to do or try to be Urban Meyer. I'm not going to try to be, you know, some other coach. I'm just going to be myself, and I think that's what they experienced in their first, you know, 3 games this season.
Hey Ryan, on your signing day press conference, you mentioned that all staff and decisions that you'll do or make about your staff will be done after the bowl game, but I find it kind of interesting too that you're going through bowl practice, you're in the side chair for the last time. Do you have to analyze, are you rating, are you paying attention to what these other assistants that are side by side with you right now are doing during this week? Do you have to evaluate those things? And how do you be the head coach before you're the head coach?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that you have to stay focused on right now in the moment. I think that's kind of been the theme all season from August to now, is that you focus on what's going on right now, and then you go from there. I do think that you have to make sure you're forecasting a little bit where you're headed. So staying focused on the game right now, and then once that happens, kind of go from there.
Do people treat you differently? Everyday players?
No, I don't think so. Again, why? And I think the reason is because during the preseason in those first 3 games, I'd already kind of walked in those shoes a little bit. So it isn't a big jump or a big difference in terms of how the guys look at me.
What about people outside of the team? Are they treating you differently?
Yeah, that's a little different. That's a little different. Yep. Life has changed as we know it, and but that's why you put a whistle around your neck, is to be in this situation. So.
Ryan, you have such a good quarterback. You have to brag on yourself.
Yeah, I hate to talk about myself like that, but I will say this: I played the position. I was coached by a great quarterbacks coach when I played. But then a few years ago, I had to make a decision, kind of where my career was going, and I made a hard decision to go coach in the NFL and focus all my time on quarterback play in the pro passing game. And I thought that would differentiate myself in the coaching profession. I spent 2 years doing that. I traveled around the country, meeting with different quarterback coaches. I spent all my time, because in the NFL you don't have to really worry about recruiting or anything else. And I just studied the Patriots and the Packers and the Saints, the passing game, and that's what I did for 2 years. And I felt that gave me a little bit of an edge in coaching.
How important is that relationship, head coach, quarterback? Maybe the most in sports in some ways, people say. Is that accurate? You've got to be on the same page?
Yeah, I think anytime you have a quarterback who is a player coach, that's when you're at your best. And I think that it's the coaches, it's the quarterback, and kind of everybody else. And if you have that mentality as a quarterback that you are a coach, that you are looking out, there's more responsibility, then you're almost part of the staff. And so I think that relationship is important.
Ryan, speaking of the quarterback-coach relationship, you helped personally develop Dwayne. Now he's obviously has a decision to make, and depending on what that decision is, it's going to impact who your quarterback is. With everything that happened in Oregon and Justin Herbert returning, him being considered by most analysts the #1 quarterback in the draft, how do you have those discussions with him in terms of what's best for his future, while also balancing the fact that your success in the beginning of your career could be determined by who your quarterback is? It's kind of a tough position you might be in.
It is, and we've had a few discussions about it. We said that we're going to get through this game and go win the Rose Bowl, and then have a little bit further discussions there. But there's a lot involved with it. Obviously, he has his family that he trusts and loves, and some other people that he'll go to for advice. But we want what's best for Dwayne, and as a coach, you want to make sure you're doing that. This is not self-serving in any way where you start talking somebody into coming back just because it's self-serving for the program or for me. That being said, obviously, I'm going to present all the reasons why it'd be great for him to come back.
Is Dwayne ready for the NFL right now?
That's a good question. I think, again, after the season, you reflect on, the whole season, where it's at, how far he's come. I do think that he has a chance to be really successful in the NFL. When and how and the situation, obviously, is something that we have to look at after the Rose Bowl. But when you look at what he's done this season, it's been very, very impressive.
And his skill set, more of kind of a drop back guy. I mean, he can run, but that's kind of his mantra. Is that kind of the philosophy going forward as far as recruiting quarterbacks and the style of offense?
We want to recruit a quarterback who has some sort of extraordinary trait, and then we feel like, I've mentioned this before in a few of our press conferences, we feel we can tailor our offense to the quarterback's strengths.
You saw Chip Kelly at practice the other day. Any highlights from having a chance to talk to Chip in person?
Other than seeing him and spending time with him, and he and his wife and my wife, no, I think that it's always good to be around, one of your mentors and spend time and talk through things. And again, obviously, Urban's a huge part of this thing for me moving forward as a mentor. And then Chip's like the second, where you go to them for advice. They've been in this thing before. They've been a head coach, and the thing that I just keeps coming back to me is just be yourself, trust your instinct, because you're built for this.
When Kevin Wilson came in, he was sort of the guru, the offensive guru. You kind of elevated that relationship. How has that gone? How has that worked out? I assume you guys work very closely together. And where may that head?
All the guys on offense, great relationship there. It's a group effort. And Kevin is as good as anybody. He's been doing it for a long, long time, has a great history of really explosive offenses, and have a huge hand in everything we're doing on a day-to-day basis. Does a great job with our run game, great job with organizing day-to-day operations. And so nothing but unbelievable things to say about Kevin and work with him for 2 years.
Ryan, when you made the decision to go to the NFL with Chip, were you calling plays before you made that move?
When I was at Boston College, I was the offensive coordinator.
How difficult was it to go from a guy calling plays to sort of taking a back seat to a guy like Chip who was going to?
Well, that was part of the decision. Was like, okay, how am I going to differentiate myself in this profession? And then making that move was part of that decision, and knowing that you weren't going to call the plays. But the good news was in the relationship that I had with Chip, I had a lot going on there. He and I were constantly talking during the games, and so I felt there was some value there as well.
We really saw Chris Olave come on toward the end of the year. Is there any other young wide receivers that might not play that much on Tuesday, but you feel are really coming on for you guys?
Yeah, I think those guys have a bright future. They still have to grow this spring. Blue Smith and Jalen Gill, Elijah Gardner, Jalen Harris. Those are all guys that are going to be the future of our program at wideout. And so the spring is going to be important for those guys to keep growing.
You mentioned Gill. Can he play a little running back too, or is he strictly kind of, is he going to be like an H-back?
He has many skills. Yeah, he can do a lot of things.
Hey, Ryan, just walked up. I'm sorry. On Haskins, what have you imparted to him? When he came, he was here, and maybe he's here now. What has he improved on? What have you tried to develop his game?
Oh, there's a lot. I'd say the thing I'm the most proud of is his leadership. Just the way that he's handling himself, the way he walks and talks. That's come a long way, because one of the number one jobs of the quarterback is to lead the 10 men that are on the field with you. I think he's taken great strides that way. He's taken more ownership of the offense. He's putting the work in to understand the defensive structures week in and week out. So he's grown a lot, as a player, but also as a young man. And so he's a guy who's come in as a sophomore with no collegiate starts, and look at 13 games what he's done, which is really amazing, really, when you think back on what he's done in such a short period of time. But a lot of that has to go back with the other guys that are surrounding him. Our offensive line, I keep saying it, has done unbelievable. You think about that team up north game, he was barely touched.
Yeah.
And they blitzed every other snap. And so he was able to, get his feet in the ground and throw the ball where, if your offensive line doesn't protect you, you can look foolish. And so receivers, veteran guys who are getting open and catching the ball for them. So it's a team effort. It's a group effort. And but not to take anything away from Dwayne, he's had a tremendous season.
How will you try to recruit him again? I missed that part.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier. I mean, it's not about recruiting. I mentioned that you can't self-servingly talk somebody into coming back. That's not. But you put the pros and the cons out there. You talk about what the advantages of coming back would be. Some of the things that he has and opportunities in front of him. But we're going to do a good job of putting those things out so he understands that we'd love to have him back.
Ryan, prospects are coming to practice here. Offers are going out. How are you in this transitional period overseeing how you guys are recruiting? Obviously, new offers are going out, new commitments are coming in. How does that work while you're at the Rose Bowl?
The same way that it does back home. Yeah, so everybody's still involved with it. A lot of communication with Mark D'Antoni and our whole staff, and we're constantly, monitoring what's going on out there with some of the recruits. Constantly talking about the 2020 group, and so it's always an ongoing process.
So Urban basically removed himself from that now?
No. Like I said, this business as usual all the way through the Rose Bowl, and he's been a huge part of it.
You're wearing shorts. It's 65 degrees out, and you're practicing. Is this one of those pinch me moments that you're here about to coach in the Rose Bowl?
Yeah, it is a little bit. Anytime you have a chance to play in a game like the Rose Bowl, you have to make sure you enjoy it. You take it in, because this is the reason why you play the game, you coach the game. I did say that once I was out here, because when I was in San Francisco, I was going to wear shorts and a long sleeve every day. I wasn't going to change at all. Beautiful weather, and the Rose Bowl people are putting on a great week of events, and the hospitality's been excellent.
Ryan, I think you said when we talked to you on signing day that you weren't going to comment on reports about possible transfer options at quarterback. But when those things are out there, how do you manage that with your quarterbacks currently on the team, especially a guy like Tate, who's been in the program for a few years, and if Dwayne were to move on, it seemed like he'd be not next in line, but positioned well to start next year?
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be speculation, especially here at Ohio State. I think, like I said, the interest level that's out there right now in terms of quarterback play here is as high as I think it's ever been. I think everybody's really excited about that, and so we have to make sure that we're not on social media and all those things, but it all starts with Dwayne. When he comes back and he makes a decision, then we go from there.
Did you have to, smooth things over at all with Tate or Matthews when there is that stuff being reported?
No, I think that there was always constant communication about their future here and what we think of them and where they are. I think that's a huge part of coaching, is making sure you're constantly talking to the quarterbacks, or any position for that matter, about where they are and where their expectations are moving forward. So there's always communication.
What have you thought of Tate's preparation here at bowl practice in the last few weeks?
I think it's been very good. I think that he understands the game plan like he always does. It's hard when you're not playing to constantly do a good job preparing, even though you're not getting on the field. It can be frustrating at times, but he's done an excellent job with that this year.
Ryan, what would you say, how has he developed this year, Tate? And would you feel comfortable based on what you've seen this year in his development with him potentially being a starting quarterback next year?
I think that again, when you're not playing all the time, it is hard, because you're preparing, you're getting the game plan down, you're practicing, in practice, and you are getting reps with the twos, so that's a little bit frustrating. But I think he's done a very, very good job of that all season, kind of managing that as we go. He's gotten better each week, and so if he gets called on in the game, he's got to be ready to go.
Is Dwayne as good a passer as you've coached, NFL or college?
I compare him to Matt Ryan and Sam Bradford. Those are the two guys I've been around that are in that same category right there, where their anticipation, their accuracy, the way the ball comes off of their hand, I'd compare him to those two guys.
And could you give your impression of Matthew's development? I mean, obviously he's the guy that you recruited and brought him in when he was under the radar for quite a while. What have you seen from his progress and how good he might be next year?
It's hard to say how ready he'll be, because the knee, it's there, but he hasn't been able to really do much with the knee. So, the spring will be obviously huge kind of bar on where he is in his development. He's done an excellent job in the meeting room when he's on the field trying to get mental reps and those type of things. But in terms of throwing him out there to the fire right now, he's still not quite ready for that. but this spring he'll have that opportunity.
What's been Urban's message when he gets that team together before or after? What's the morsel you take from that, or is it just the same talking points? Win the Rose Bowl?
Well, I mean, yeah, we're here for a reason. This is a team that's been through a lot this year, and we want to finish it the right way. Finish the right way for Coach Meyer, and finish the right way for these seniors. They deserve that. They've started out strong, and when now it's time to finish this thing strong with a lot of pride, and playing for the guy next to you, playing for your brother. It's really, really important.
Ryan, how's Master Teague look so far during both in Columbus and here?
He's gotten stronger as the season gone on. He's gotten stronger. He's a big, powerful back who just needs to get more and more reps. The more reps he gets, the more aware he is in protection, understanding kind of who he has to block and some of the blitz patterns. But he is a downhill back that if you can get him to the second level, he's a home run hitter.
I know he's played in 4 games this year. I think he's played in 4 games this year. So if he plays in the Rose Bowl, that means he'll be a sophomore next year. If he doesn't play, he'll be a redshirt freshman. Is that a concern at all, or even anything in your mind? That
it is.
Okay.
It is. Yeah. And we have DeMario too as a third back if we need to. So if we need to play him, he's got to be ready to go. But we'd also like to get the year for him.
Hey, Ryan, I didn't mean to. I know you've been asked this a few times.
Yeah.
What's the status of Brian Snead? I know that he's been suspended, but I don't know if you have an update or not, but is he going to be on the team this year?
Yeah, I don't have any updates on him right now. Sorry.
You probably been asked this, but it's now a matter of days before you take the program. Has the reality of that hit you yet? It's not just kind of weeks and you're going to put it out of your mind.
Right.
It's going to be your program and on Wednesday.
Right.
What's your thought process when you think about that? What goes through your mind?
Well, it hasn't. It's something that I've known now for a little bit of time here. So there's been a transition and a build up to that. So yeah, there's a lot of things that are going through my mind and things that are in place so that we can get going. The guys get back on the 7th, and the plan is to have a team meeting right there and go forward. But the good news is, there's been some time to think about that, reflect on it, and kind of charge up the batteries and get ready to roll.
Hey Ryan, is it like you're going to be more of a podium guy than a chair guy moving forward, right?
I don't know. Whatever they give me, I guess.
I just think, what's the first thing you want to do on Wednesday?
In terms
the first day you're head coach, what's the first thing you want to do?
Yeah, I don't know if it's one thing. I think you just kind of you go in and you understand you have a list of things you need to get done, and just go about the business of starting it up and rolling.
When that office becomes your office, have you thought about that? You're going to have Urban's office?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, it's a little bizarre.
Has he moved out yet?
No, he hasn't.
So maybe a few days.
Yeah, that's right.
You don't have as much stuff as he does, right? I mean, how are you going to fill that thing?
Well, that was Christmas. I got a lot of stuff for Christmas. The family members gave me a lot of stuff, a lot of pictures, a lot of things for Buckeyes to when they come in there, recruits they can see, and so I'll build it up as we go.
Hey, Ryan, is there one of your players who will remain nameless just said it's pretty cool to see a 50-year-old out there running around with us, referring to you. I had to inform him you're 39. Is it because you're going to miss that, right? You're not going to be able to get in there and do those drills. Have you thought about that? I mean, kind of how that's going to change, and how important is that to you being successful, is being among the guys and doing the drills?
I want to keep that going, though. Yeah, like I said, I really want to stay involved with the offense. I really want to stay involved in the coaching and day-to-day stuff. I really don't want to change that. I don't think I have to as we go. And there'll be shifts and movements as we go to find out what the right rhythm is for the team at the time and the staff. But I want to continue that because I think that's what's given me the opportunity to be in this situation, and I don't want to change that.
How challenging is it physically to be going through drills? I mean, you have a smile on your face most of the time.
Right.
You got to be aches and pains?
No, it's not bad. And I don't know who said that, but I'm only 39, so I still got enough energy with me. People have called me an old soul, but I'm definitely not 50 years old.
Are there things you picked up in bowl prep? Are you taking notes on how you're going to do it down the line?
Absolutely.
Are there things?
But I've done that for the last 10 years. I have a book of things that I've learned, and just kind of that was my head coaching book over here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use that as a reference as always. But same thing this year, going through and talking about practice 1, practice 2, how we handle Christmas, how we handle the breaks, how we handle the practice when we're on site, how we handle the guys checking in curfew, all those things that come with organizing a team. Kind of go over here in a bank, and then we going to utilize the guys on our staff, Brian Voltolini, Quinn Temple, and the guys that are here currently in the infrastructure we have. They're excellent at that, and they have a long list of examples to use.
How long have you had the head coaching book?
Oh, it probably goes back a decade. You know, I've wanted to be a head coach ever since I started coaching, and so I started taking notes a long time ago.
Ryan, the video you guys put out on signing day of you and Urban playing the video game, how did they approach you for that, and what did you think of how it turned out?
Well, Zach Schwartz, who heads up the creative team that we have, came up with the idea, and it was their idea to make it look like the video game. And then at the end, he came up with this idea that he wanted to have Urban hand off the sticks or whatever they call them to me. And so it took a few takes. It was a little awkward. Sometimes it's easier when you're just talking in an interview as opposed to things that are scripted.
Yeah.
But it actually took about 3 or 4 takes, and we really liked the idea. We thought it was really neat, and I think the reaction was really well taken.
Are you a video game guy? Have you ever played like PlayStation or Xbox or anything?
My son is into video games now, so every once in a while I'll try to play them, and I get humbled quick.
Ryan, is there a sense this year especially that you have worked with an elite quarterback? I think I've asked you this a couple times probably already, but I mean, just, you know, obviously now the take is that if Dwayne comes out, he might be the highest rated quarterback in the draft and stuff. But just, what is your sense? What have you seen? Obviously, been on the pro level, et cetera. You know what they expect up there. But what is your sense of him and his readiness, et cetera? And have you been working with an elite guy?
That's a good question. I think that Dwayne has come a long way in a year. I think that when you look at his skill set, it's in line with a lot of those guys that, you know, the Matt Ryans and Sam Bradfords and Alex Smith. He has a lot of those traits. There is a certain level of preparation, a certain level of physical readiness, a certain level of experience that's required to be successful at that level. And, you know, that's something that I take a lot of pride in, is that we recruit quarterbacks. We talk about how we're going to get you ready to go play in the NFL. You know, every meeting that you step into is going to be like an NFL meeting, because that's what was done before when I was coaching in the NFL. So I think in terms of protections, understanding defensive structures, all those things, I think he's really close. I think, you know, the whole package together is something that he and his family have to decide on.
You know, as you've studied Washington, the linebacker, Ben Burke-Kirven, does he jump out at you? I mean, 165 tackles.
Yeah. It jumps out because he's on every play.
Yeah.
I mean, he's right there every time. He's a really good player. He diagnoses plays at a high level, and so plays really, really hard. You could tell he is kind of the heartbeat of that whole defense. He's what makes that defense go. And the big guys up front eat up a lot of blocks, and he runs to the ball and makes tackles. They're tough. They make you work the ball down the field, and they're really well coached.
The word around too is that, you know, you've heard it, that they have maybe the best secondary overall in the country. Do you see that as you study video? I mean, what just stands out about that group?
Yeah, very, very talented. You know, highly regarded around the country. And talking to guys who played against them, they again diagnose plays. They break on the ball. Really good cover skills. So maybe one of the best secondaries we've seen all year.
And last thing for me is Coach Meyer head coaching all the way, head coaching to the end?
Yeah, he is.
And what does that mean?
It means it's business as usual all the way to the end. He's coaching the coaches, he's coaching the players all the way to the end, just like you would expect him to.
Hey Ryan, just Dwayne's mental capacity and his understanding of defenses and understanding of your offense.
Yeah.
How has that progressed over the year? And then just like, where is he in the context of quarterbacks, how he is with that part of it?
Yeah, I think if you asked JT that question 2 years ago, he'd probably have laughed. You know, I mean, where he's come in 2 years is amazing. He's really matured in that area. We just kind of talked about, you know, it's the protection, it's the defensive structure, it's understanding the coverages and the timing and the progressions. He's done a great job of that. And, you know, how far along is he in that? That's something that he and his family have to decide.
Ryan, when you're evaluating quarterbacks, how does your philosophy on priorities for skill set compare with Urban's?
Oh, very much in line. Yeah, our philosophy in that area is, you know, competitive toughness, leadership, decision-making skills. Those are all the things that we look for in a quarterback, and not necessarily in there is how tall they are, how well they throw the ball. I mean, that's obviously a part of it, but it's more about all those other things and the intangibles.
Do you buy the idea that with you as the head coach, you guys will rely on guys who are more throw first than run first, as some of his guys have been in the past?
Well, I think that a lot of those guys, you know, were kind of guys that he had, you know, like Braxton Miller, and, you know, some of those guys he inherited, you know, and so when you look back at Alex Smith and Chris Leak, you know, in his past, he had a lot of quarterbacks who were throw first as well. So I don't think that that's the case at all. I think We're going to look for somebody with extraordinary traits and then build a team around them.
What do you think your offense will look like compared to what this offense has been under Meyer? Do you plan to tweak it at all? He's obviously known for the spread. You came up with Chip Kelly. How do you think the offense will look next year?
I think it starts with the quarterback, and based on the quarterback skill set, what gives us the best opportunity to be successful. I think that you have to evolve with the game as well. I think you can't be stagnant in terms of this is what we run, this is our offense. Well, you have to kind of evolve with the times and stay on top of it. So we'll be studying NFL teams, we'll be studying teams in the Big Ten, teams in the SEC, teams in the Pac, all across the country, and figure out what are the new trends in offenses, what gives defenses trouble, and then marry that up with who our quarterback is, who our line is, and how our skill guys fit in.
One question about Michael Jordan. Obviously, kind of took one for the team this year, switching from guard to center. How do you think he played? And if he comes back, I mean, the assumption is he'd go back to guard next year?
Yeah. That's something that we're going to have some discussions with he and his family this week before the game, but that would be the plan. And I can't say enough about what he did this year to step into that role. Somebody his size too, and how well he did, and making first All-American awards. I mean, can't say enough about his unselfishness. Yeah, no, and then and Josh would be a guy that we'd look at center, and we've actually worked at. Malcolm Pridgeon had a finger in bowl practice, so we worked on some of those changes, and Josh has really improved this year. So that would be a nice nice move for us to move Josh to center and then Mike over to guard.
Ryan, how important was that TCU game for you in terms of development as a head coach and kind of showing offense and defense that you can be the leader?
It was huge. I mean, that was a big game and a big spot for us going on the road and beating at that time, a strong TCU team. And I think it gave myself and the coaching staff and the whole team a lot of confidence.
One question about coaching. You're going to be basically a CEO. That's kind of what this job is. That's the one thing you probably haven't done. Sure. How well equipped do you think you are for that? How much of a challenge is that to run everything?
Yeah, I think that is the challenge. But again, it's been something that I've been kind of preparing for my whole life, and how do you really get ready for that without doing it? Again, the preseason, which is a huge part of your season, and in the first 3 games, you walk in those shoes and you feel it, and you're like, okay, yeah, I can do this. And so go back on those experiences. But again, these next few months into the spring are going to be really important.
If you hadn't had that experience, if you hadn't been thrust into that job, do you think
I'd be a little bit more I'd be a little more stressed. I'd still be ready, but it'll be more of the unknown. So that gives me some peace of mind and allows me to at least sleep a couple hours at night.
Ryan, just very quick shorthand on what you guys did to the Michigan defense. Is there any comparison between Washington's defense and Michigan's?
It's different. Both very, very talented defenses with really good players. Scheme's a little different, though.